to the cloud. All right, Jam Boom Boom, we here with Kiyoshi, and we are doing the basic principles of performance, not just acting, but performance. And so, as I was saying before I pressed the record button, was this entire idea that Greek and Roman, they kind of, they studied another civilization, they studied another group of people. We're talking like the dawn of like great societies, and basically what motherfuckers were doing, spirits and bodies were doing, was just trying to reach or harken back to or understand where they're at through the spiritual realm. This like theater is a code word for ritual. So the Greeks and Romans, they remixed it. They established their pillars, their religions, their politics, their education, their business, and the formation of entertainment was in order to promote or propagandize their other pillars. So they used theater as a reward for the people who worked in their Babylons, who worked in their Jerusalem. Hey, come down, we'll entertain you. You work so hard. We take all your tax money. Come down, and you can come and enjoy a show. It was kind of come on down. Y'all work so hard. Have a seat. And motherfuckers weren't sitting back then. Like they were like, whoa, especially if it was like something exciting on stage. It wasn't that idea of sit and just watch. It was the participation too. It was the throwing of the tomatoes. It was like, oh, I don't agree with that. People were it was very rowdy, which I think is like the true essence of theater. That whole like sit down and just watch, like, I'd rather like get up. And that's why I think we were talking about church before, especially like church in the inner cities. It's that whole like, oh yes, everyone just like gets up, they feel the spirit. That's kind of like the truest, quote unquote, like more closer to what they were doing in the beginning of time. But basically that entire like idea, every place. Right. Oh, what was that?
It's like there's all this energy when everyone's like getting involved. So they're like, they can harvest people's energy towards their propaganda, but it's also just like a big generation. People feel like really high when they go. They're like, yeah, we're gonna fucking throw tomatoes.
Yeah, especially when they reenact like wars, because people like they enlisted the director. I'll say they, like the shadow government or the government at the time. They enlisted directors, they enlisted actors, they secured what the play was about, and they were sitting back and studying. Oh, okay, the audience gets really wild up when we reenact war, or when we reenact the killing of somebody. Or, so they that's like the dawn of wrestling, to be honest, too. It's like, oh, they like violence. Oh, okay, let's keep putting that in the plays. Oh, hey, whatever motherfucker's name was back then. I was about to say Ulysses, but I'm pretty sure. I think that's a Greek name. Whatever, fuck him. But basically,
he's the Odyssey hero, or the James Joyce book.
Yeah, them, those playwrights. I think Aristotle was a playwright. Maybe not. I don't know. They did everything. But basically, they just sat back and said, okay, this is what they like. This is what they gravitate towards. And all the plays were just, like I said, like promoting what they already had going on. They probably alluded to like a new law that would be reenacted, or they used a lot of the plays to see how the audience would respond, because the audience was the people who worked for them. They were people who worked in the banks, in the libraries, in the schools. So their reaction to whatever the playwright was putting on stage was going to dictate how to go about writing new laws, how to change their minds, how to manipulate the human psyche through entertainment. So it's that same idea that, and I want to get into kind of like what a basic principle that I've formed, but it's that idea of balancing the internal world and the external world. So the playwrights and the philosophers at the time, they knew the human psyche. They knew what would incite people. They knew what would be boring for people. But they also knew exactly what theater was. And it's taking our internal world, or us hearkening to the spiritual world, and doing the best that we can with our limitations in order to put out an objective, an intention, and a goal. So I said like kind of objective, of intention, and a goal. And it's this idea. I'm gonna go back because that's kind of getting into like more of like acting. So I just want to like keep it out in performance world first. So the performance is just the achievement of anything. We like when you go to work and you have your first like 3 months of like probation, or like basically like 3 months where the supervisor's keeping an eye out on you. After those 3 months, you get a meeting with the supervisor, you get a job performance, like a performance review. Okay, how have you been doing according to what it means to be an employee underneath of this scheme? So that's the performance, is the achievement of something. The performance, you can find it in sports, obviously entertainment, like the aesthetics performances, such as dance, music. Acting is its own category in theater within performance. Sex, the performance of gender, business, religion, politics. It encompasses a lot of these things, performance studies. And so kind of like rigidding, kind of getting a little more specific. It's this entire idea that it's this entire idea of the context that we're looking at it in. And like I said before, it's always going to be society. So society comes with authoritarianism. It comes with rules. It comes with different denominations. So that's another thing that kind of gets everyone twisted up in the game. It's like, okay, we have a law, but then we have how it's interpreted by everybody, because we all sentient beings. We all have our opinions. We're not necessarily in power, but it's that entire idea, like, and I'll use this as an example, you know, like, oh, girls aren't supposed to dress like that. Oh, guys aren't supposed to have long hair. You know, like, these can be like the flunked out sheep people in our lives, but it's like, wait a second, like, who, like, that's just an opinion. That's not law. But, you know, say that you grew up with like a group of people. Oh, my bad.
I've never heard, no, you're good. I've never heard anyone say that in this lifetime, actually. Like, I think those are things that definitely happened in the past, but I think in this lifetime is the complete opposite. Like, guys have long hair all the time, you know, since the freaking 70s, since the 60s, 70s. Girls have been wearing whatever they want since the 60s and 70s.
Look, I'm speaking from my perspective, man. Like I said, and my bad if I made that too general, but this is something that I've experienced in my lifetime that I had to fight through early on. Like, wait a second, where does it say that? And, you know, I'm flipping my Bible.
Yeah.
Like, where does it say men
it's
can't
like,
have? Where does it say where? And it's this idea that because a group of people, aka the shadow government, created laws, we now think because, and I say, you know, like the common folk or people who are rocked to sleep under these systems, thus think that they can create these kind of invisible laws that really restrict people. And by people, I mean myself. So let me be more specific. You know, like, that's what's up that you hear that, because it's like I had to fight through that just early on in childhood to be like, wait a second, when I go on the internet, I see different types of people. When I go to school, I see different types of people. What is this? What is this in kind of invisible restrictions that you're putting on me and my mentality, because I want to go out and express myself in a different way than how I was raised. And I was using that example to say that there are a group of people who govern, but then even amongst the governed, there's like these unspoken rules of what to do and what not to do. So this is what then creates society. This is what then creates normalcy and the outcasts or the underground culture. This entire idea that it's being done from the top to the bottom. And this is just all mentalities. These are our internal worlds. But no, that's a great point, because even thinking about, you know, just this entire idea of artists and people who don't necessarily agree, don't do the 9 to 5,
who don't follow the rules.
They're creating their own culture. They're creating their own performance within society. They're creating their own characteristics.
They trust themselves. They trust themselves rather than whatever rules are being imposed on them by. It's like these people who govern us, they hardly govern anything. They're doing some fucked up shit. They like us to think that we have to obey them. And the creative people and the artists, they're the ones who will make the rules for themselves, right? And, you know, some others. But yeah, the sheeple allow themselves to be governed because they accept that these people must be above them somehow, you know, and so then they allow for that hierarchy that's imposed on them by people who honestly suck. Like
people who don't get it, people who are not on the ground with us.
People on the top who are in charge is like, nah.
Yeah, people who are outer, you know what I'm saying? They're outer. And then they influence the gatekeepers, aka the politicians and the preachers and the teachers and the, you know, everyone with titles, and it works inward. And this is how I then created my perception, because all of that, you know, I'm just imagining all of that coming in towards me, this idea of how to just be myself. And then I just pushed it right back out, and I got to the starting point of where all that shit comes from, thus creating my own philosophy around performance. This entire idea that I had to do that internal battle. And we all have to. So now let me get out of my bag and jump out of my ego and say, because we're all collectively here, right? We all have to go through this internal battle of understanding what has been put on us, external, versus what already lies within us, internal. And so 9 times out of 10, especially in this lifetime where we're underneath so many mentalities, we're underneath fucked up corruption in history, we have to fight. We have to, we have to stick up for ourselves and be the outcast and be looked at as different in order just to be at peace with ourselves. And so it's that external versus internal. And this is the kind of fluctuation of acting and of performance. So let me be more specific and rigid when it comes to acting. Like, acting is understanding who you are. You have to have a knowledge of yourself, whether it's as simple as like, I like ice cream and I don't like hot dogs. Like, you just have to have this knowledge of yourself in order to go out and play another character. And I say that all the time. It's like you can't put yourself, and let me take it out of the context of acting and just in life. Judging a book by its cover, kind of using these basic colloquialisms for where we are right now. Can't judge a book by its cover. Something about you got to be in somebody's, like, you got to walk a mile in my shoes. How does that? It's like, something about walking a mile in someone else's shoes. And this is essentially what acting is, especially if you put on another character. Say that you got casted in a classic play, like a Shakespearean play, and it's a character that everyone knows and loves. It's going to be your perception and your interpretation that makes it different from another person. So let me use an example for that. They keep doing remakes.
Leonardo Romeo.
There we go. And yeah, there we go. And so because we don't, and we in our, like, where we are right now, we don't know who the first Romeo actor was, and could have been terrible. He could have been incredible, but we can go back to Leonardo DiCaprio's Romeo. And so say that you get casted in the new Romeo and Juliet. What's going to make you different from Leonardo DiCaprio? And it's your experiences. It's what you've accumulated. It's your characteristics. It's how you see the world. I was watching a film. It's called Life, and it's with Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy. I'll just use Eddie Murphy as an example. Any kind of comedian that came up in the 90s, you think of all these comedians, I don't think that anyone could play an Eddie Murphy role because of Eddie Murphy's intricacies of how he pays attention to comedy, like the timing of his jokes, his physicality, his smiles, his versatility. I think of these ideas of no one else can play that role because of how Eddie Murphy as the person interprets life, understands the importance of smiling or providing relief to people who are watching. You know what I'm saying? Like, people watching a film just like, I just need to escape, or I just need to laugh, like, just leave me alone. He might have an understanding of these things. I don't know. I'm not going to speak for him. But that the example is to say your interpretation of just yourself is always going to help you attack acting, attack performance. I'll just, again, be specific. A lot better. And people are going to remember the choices that you made as an actor, the choices that you made as a singer, as an entertainer, versus the next person. Like, oh, okay, well, we know that Kiyoshi did such an amazing job of Romeo. All right, 20 years down the line, now you got somebody else about to attack Romeo. So, okay, like, how are they going to do it different? So it's this idea that we have the responsibility to show our uniqueness. And let me not be so vague with that. It can be as simple as, like, your quirks. Like, like maybe when you get nervous, you kind of like press your lip against something, but you have to be aware that you do that, and then you can utilize it for your performance. Like, like a little cheeky thing, or like you might put your shoulders up whenever you ask, or whenever you say, like, I don't know, like these things that when you're rehearsing, just notice that you do about yourself instead of denying them, or like, oh, let me be as rigid and as straight as possible. Embrace these physical quirks or these mental quirks that you might have, how you see the world. And that's always going to make for a better performance, better acting. That
example of that is, my favorite example with the little quirks and the things, how the actor made himself the character. Now no one can separate the character from that person, is Johnny Depp as Captain Jack Sparrow. All the little things he does with his mustache, his eyebrows, the little quirks, the way he walks and things, like the way he talks. No one else could play Captain Jack Sparrow after Johnny Depp,
I wouldn't attack it. I would not. I'd be like, no, I'm good. I'm good. If I was, I'm like, no, no, thank you. He got that. He got that. And that's paying attention to the devil in the details. That's getting really into, and this is a good segue for the next point of mastering the five senses. That's the devil in the details. And AKA, that's just being aware of your flesh, being aware of the physical things that you do that express in your face, like, oh, oh, they might be thinking. Say, I notice that I do this a lot, not even when I'm acting, but when I'm talking to people, I'll look up because it's like, I want to envision what it is that you're saying. But then someone told me about that when I was on Zoom last year. They're like, Jam, like, you do this thing where you look up. I'm just like, oh yeah, I do. Like, but then I realized, okay, why do I do that? Oh, I'm envisioning what the person is saying because we're not physically here. Even when I am physically like with someone, I might be thinking or I'll look up, and that's just me, just like going into like a lighter world, and then just bringing that down when I speak. Just little quirks
about
like that. And
so, you ever heard of NLP? You ever heard of NLP? NLP, neuro linguistics programming. It's basically about our internal representations and things like that. But there's literally a chart about where people look when they're speaking, because you see people's eye movements go everywhere. So there's different ways that people process information and different ways that people pull up information. When someone is creating something in their head, they'll often look to the right, to the future. Like, so if someone's lying or someone's telling a story that's made up, they'll look to the right. If they're pulling information from their past, they look like to the left or to the past. And then there's different things, like even when you're looking to the side, you're like remembering sounds and things like that. When you're looking down, either way, you're like processing information either from the past or you're doing a new process of learning something. But it's cool. You should look into that because there's reasons why people look to each area. It's because they're accessing different parts of their brain.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And and I had no idea about that. NLP. I wrote that shit down. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Really- and and paying attention first, because it's like in my environment, I get a lot of mind readers. People think that they know what's on my mind based on how I like I'll look a certain way, or a tone in my voice will be a certain way. And the rebel in me, I'm like, you don't fucking know me. You don't know so you don't know what I'm about to do next. But there is that art of studying just the physicality. Just one's facial expressions can allude to what's on their mind. But I like that it's focusing on the process and the programming, like where it is that they're reaching to, not necessarily saying, oh, this is what they're about to say, like, which is what I get in my environment, or when people kind of like, have you ever had someone who like you're talking to and they kind of like try to finish the sentence for you while you're talking? I don't know, that might be a little too specific, but I had this individual. Okay, I had this individual in my life, and every time and we studied acting together, and like every time I would like talk to her, like she would just kind of like finish the last part of my words. I'm just like, can you stop doing that? Like, I'm trying to say. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she was trying to dismiss me. I don't know. I wasn't like coming on to her or anything. I was just like talking, and she would just be like, I'm like, okay, it's just her little quirk. It's like I don't take it personally. But yeah. So I'm glad that you said that, because it's the understanding of the human psyche. It's the understanding of psychology. Let me finish the point about mastering the five senses. The sight, we talked about that. The smell, the taste, the touch. Sight, smell, taste, touch, hearing. So this entire idea that we came into this realm already doing these things. But then, our goal, if you want to have a goal, I mean, you don't have to do shit, but to have your own unique way of processing these senses. And so my suggestion would be to kind of heighten it in a way, because every time and when I'm working with, like, as a director, if I'm working with actors, I'll always tell them to go to the extreme or overreact, so that me as the director, I can kind of chop that down, so that you have a specific kind of way of going about it. Like, for example, if the line is, "Oh my goodness, what do?" I would want the actor to say, "Oh my goodness, what will I do?" So that I can see how far their imagination goes with their body, I can see what they're working with. And then I'll say, okay, bah, I'll do it like a snap. I'll say, okay, wait. Imagine you saying that to your mom, and she caught you doing something you weren't supposed to do in your room. And then I'll say, go. and then it'll flip. So it's all
Oh.
it's yeah, it'll flip around. So it's that idea of using a scenario or using something specific. The action was perfect. Now make it more specific. So you might, and I'm glad you brought up NLP. You might look a certain way. Say the door is over here. Your attention was here, but you might look this way now and say, "Oh my goodness!" And now, because you're in a room, you're not gonna yell. You're not gonna exclaim that. You're gonna maybe lower it down a little bit. Oh my goodness! I don't know what I'm gonna do. And you might start crying because you think like, "Oh no, I got caught." So it's that idea of just more to work with, and then make it more specific. Work within the senses. They're limiting to an extent, but the way that you go about expressing it, that's what we're looking for. And I say we as the audience, that's what we're drawn to with individuals, whether whether we like it or not. We love the way that somebody does them. I love the way you do you. That subconsciously is inspiring, because that's subconsciously what we're doing. The shadow government will have us judging each other based on how we look, on what we like, scared, whatever. But it's we really want to be inspired by each other. Let me draw back. I like to be inspired by others who are free of those limitations and express themselves regardless. And I pick up on little things such as laughs. If someone, I remember being in grade school and someone would laugh a certain way, and then I would try it on. People would look at me like, "Why are you trying to laugh?" I'm just I like to laugh. I want to laugh like them. I have Virgo 10th house. So that mutable earth, I picked up things as far as handwriting too. I would see someone's handwriting and try to practice that. And it wasn't to jack them, I wasn't trying to take their style, but I'm well, this could kind of add to what I got going on. Let me put the little bubbles dots over the eyes. Or let me laugh I was inspired by that. So this is, again, maybe something that I'm going to work with, is putting it into the performance theory. So
just wanting to play guitar, a really good person plays guitar. I'm I want to do what they do.
And then when you're practicing, you find your own way of doing it. So it's maybe you're tapping into that same energy, but it's how you go about doing it. As an artist and someone who draws inspiration, I'm not afraid to say I'm inspired by that person, or that person made me do this. I cite my sources, But yeah.
We got to grow from each other. That's right.
Yeah, because we're always going to do it in our own way. No one's ever going to do anything like you. And I use that as an example to say too, I put a lot of my art on the internet. And I've heard, I had a friend and I had a former teacher kind of advise me against doing that. And the reason was, someone might copy your idea. I'm looking at it from a spiritual point. I'm first of all, me just putting it up is satisfying and fulfillment to me. If anyone tries to jack my idea, say it's a play idea, I'm going to get all of that. I'm going to get all the energy back because I'm the one who created it. And guess what? I have a billion, gazillion, infinity more stories, more creative ideas. I'm flattered by those things, but that's just my philosophy. Some people are, my friend, he does visual art, so he's a little more less prone to sharing his stuff. But I'm don't you?
Oh, sorry, we disconnected for a second.
Oh, my bad. Are we back?
No, you're good. It froze up, so I didn't know what was going on.
Thank you for letting me know, because I would have kept going. But basically, the moral.
You get this great feeling of just expressing yourself through the internet, and it doesn't matter if someone else takes your thing, because that energy is going to come back to you. And so what I was saying is the magician who writes the original grimoire, every magician who does spells out of it, that OG magician gets that energy. It's a scary thing, but it can be applied in the same. It is naturally you will get all the energy back. You're abundance mentality. Go for it. Yeah. Go for it.
Hell yeah. Abundance mentality, Taurus moon. Yeah, no, hell yeah. I think of just the virtue of abundance. I think of that idea. No, but I appreciate that. Yeah, and all people are different, but I hear it as an excuse to not use the internet for what we're doing right now. Don't not put up your art, because then that's the fallback, and that's what I get from my friend. It's but wait, you're not posting what you're doing, so come on, don't. But anyway. Going back to that idea of being inspired and yeah. So I'm gonna just run down because I have these notes or whatever, and we basically just chopped it up and covered all of it, and I just have one last kind of point to bring up. So like mastering the five senses, knowing yourself, having your own interpretation or perception, or having your own expression unique to your experience. For example, quirks. And again, like we're sitting and we're chopping it up, and this is all theory. You have to practicalize it. So I would just suggest to go out and try it on your own, because I don't want to just sit here and be like, yeah, and then it don't make no sense in life. Like, like kind of try it out. A suggestion that I can create just as like the rehearsal process. Laugh at something that you normally wouldn't laugh at. React to something or gasp at something like a leaf falling from the tree. And this entire idea of expanding your senses into something that you normally wouldn't do, and it can lead you into a new exploration of yourself, or what you're capable of doing, or what you're not capable of doing. We don't always need to be in a cast or to have a gig to rehearse and practice. We can do that every day. As soon as we wake up, we can practice and rehearse, and expand our instrument. Like I'll call this, our instrument, this flesh, flesh. So just small little things that you can do throughout your day with the intention of, oh, I'm in the rehearsal room. Oh, I'm going to try something new today. And interact with the world, because that's what you have to do. You can't just be in your room. I mean, you can, you gotta go out in the world too. That's what I would advise to actors and performers. They got to go out to the world and interact with the environment. And so my last point is when you are acting, and again, I want to cater to your skills and your talents and voicing and being a voice magician, just utilizing your voice for spoken word or singing or acting, what have you. That the entire idea of this is a principle of acting specifically. It boils down for the actor to intentions. To objectives and intentions. And so, for example, an intention is kind of like the preset and the presetting, and the objective is the action. So, for example, I am going to blank by blank. I am going to reach for my water bottle. Hold on. I want to start with the intention, my bad. I am going to hydrate my lips. I'm thinking this is the objective, to hydrate my lips, and my intention is so that Kiyoshi won't see me. I don't want you to know that I have dry ass lips right now. My intention is to hydrate my lips. My objective is going to be, let me make sure you don't see it. So that was just, I just had to draw. I'm like, I don't want to go to any, I want to be right here. So the intention is how is before you act, what is going to be on your mind before you do that action. I know, and you wouldn't have known that my lips were dry. I mean, you probably looking at them like, damn, their lips a little dry, but you're not gonna say it, right? But it's like I'm talking. I'm like, wait, my lips feel a little dry. Okay, I know I got my Vaseline right here. Okay, we talking. And you say you're talking, from your because we're going back and forth.
Like,
oh yeah, mm-hmm. So that was personal. So that was for my personal bubble. Now let's say, now I'm going to bring it to what we're doing here. So my intention is to explain to you what it is that I've accumulated when it comes to acting and performance, and my objective is going to be to just be myself. In spite of not having a studio, in spite of not having, that my objective is to just do it. But my intention is to connect, collaborate, have a space to share these ideas, to go back and forth. And I'm just going to do it where I'm at right now. So when it comes to acting, let's say, let's use the Romeo and Juliet. The intention for Romeo, let's say like that classic scene, Romeo, oh, Romeo, wherefore art thou? Art thou? The objective for Romeo, I think that they were just coming out of a party. He might have just seen her at the party, but his intention is to get that. He's trying to get that. I'm sorry, the objective is to get that. Tension is gonna be that internal battle. Okay, I know that it's late at night. I know that like our families are beefing, me and Julia. I'm still trying to get that. All right, but my intention is to, be I'm a be soft. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna speak, to the window, and I'm gonna do all the romantic stuff, but I'm trying to get that. And we can use it for movies as well. I'm trying to think of like classic movies. A classic. What's a classic? Have you seen The Mask by Jim Carrey? I mean, with Jim Carrey.
Oh my gosh, I was thinking of Jim Carrey when we were Johnny Depp, but The Mask is awesome.
Jim Carrey is a GOAT. He's ascended entertainment. I don't know, no personal stuff. Anyway, so I think of specifically as let's draw back. So that's like the character. So let's think of like the actor of what your intentions and objectives is. So you have a role. Jim Carrey had the role of the Mask. So he knows that he's playing Stanley, the regular 9-to-5 dude, and then he's playing like that low-key inspired character. So his objective is to be able to differentiate the two. He's like, when he puts on the mask, he's a completely different character. And his intention is to do that masterfully. And he fucking did that masterfully. It's that entire idea of of understanding the premise of a story and being able to tap into what it is that you know about acting, what it is that you know about watching a good story. Okay, my objective is to play that to the T. It's to be like the vanilla Stanley character and then be the like the most versatile out there. Yeah. So it's very trivial when it comes to it's a very trivial thing, and it's something that we might overlook, but we do it every single day. But it's that difference between what is the actor's intentions and then what is the character's intentions, because like we are different. And I say we as actors, we are different from our characters. I like to say that we put on characters like a coat and we take them right off. I like to talk to my characters before I put them on. I'm like, look, I'm gonna house you for this because they're spirits, I'm gonna house you for this great little second. A lot of the characters inspire me and inspire my day to day. I'm doing this performance in October about my experience with like being possessed by a character, but it was like a good possession. It was a good possession. And so I'll just use that for an example. But yeah, that was the difference between Jim Carrey and then Stanley and his characters inside of The Mask. But my intention was to just to do the performance well and be authentic. That word, not be too put on. And then my intention was to meet the character, because this was an actual character or an actual person in life. His name was Richmond Barthe. He was a sculptor during the Harlem Renaissance and
cool.
Like 1920s. And we did for class, we did a tour in the National Portrait Gallery in DC. So everyone kind of picked a different character in the museum, and then we would present a monologue, and then we would walk the person to the next. So it's like an animation of the portrait. And so we became the animated version of that. I'm telling you, Kiyoshi, as soon as we rehearsed for months. I created an original monologue, blah, 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 blah. But nothing is like when you're actually doing it. I got possessed in the best way possible. And because I approached the character with respect, it wasn't something like, oh yeah, people gonna know me, they're gonna know Jam for how good I behind the scenes. I was like, okay, let me study, because this person is a person just like everybody else. What was their likes and dislikes? What did they find hard about life? What were their personal philosophies? And so, I shook hands with Richmond Barthe, but as soon as like we did because I think I was the last. So, but I was like, all right, I got put on the show. This is it.
That's for last.
And when I did that performance, this was the first time that I performed like not on a traditional stage. It was more of a street performance. It wasn't like the big lights of a theater. So it was right there with the people. I got the concept of street performance. It's not you don't have to be too exaggerated, because you don't have to play to the crowd in the back. Everyone's right there in front of you. So it's that idea of, okay, let me not project, hey everybody, And when you do put yourself in, when you do put limitations on yourself, that's when your uniqueness starts to shine. That's when people can see like your little intricacies. Oh, they might lift their chin up a little bit whenever he does this weird thing with his eyebrow. So it's that idea of being up close and personal. I was possessed by Richmond Barthe, and it was that in Richmond Barthe, like the spirit actually helped me to put acting and performance into a different context. It's not necessarily being on the stage. It's really just being right here with the people. And then I get to see like the sinister part of that, like politicians acting right in front of our faces, policemen acting right in. I was like, oh shit, oh. But Richmond Barthe helped me out with that. And it's that I say that a lot. It's that idea, because I was watching our video I'm like, it's that idea. It's that entire idea. Like Mercury and Aquarius. Like I just like ideas, speaking ideas. But the intentions, how you're gonna go about acting, and then the objective is the act of doing that. So when you set that early in the game for yourself, set an intention and objective for yourself, and then you'll find, say that if you get casted for a story, or if you're starting to write your own story, think of your characters of having intentions and objectives. Everyone wants something. Everyone needs something. Everyone has a moral system. Intentions can be the moral system as well, and the objective is how they go about doing it. Yeah. I'll leave it at that. Yeah. So hey, anything. That's all I have. Again, this is just an intro. I'm working out my own way of looking at these things by utilizing what's already been laid out. Performance is just about everything that has to do with how we interact with the world, and like the worldview, society. But it's a 50-50 because we have our own inner world. We have our own perception of these things. I like to say, honor those things about you, even if motherfuckers don't agree with you, because you're the entertainer, you're the performer, you're gonna be what everyone is looking at for the time being. Right. And you don't have no responsibilities, or we don't gotta do shit. But and this is what my theater teacher told me. He said, make them laugh. Make them laugh. And so that's just the virtue of just make them remember something about you. Make them feel something because you felt something. There was a time when you were going through something, and you alchemized that shit and you created art from that. And so it's that, it's that responsibility. Like I said, we don't have to do shit, but just make somebody feel something, whether it's like, oh, cut that shit off, or like, wait, what did you say? So, and how we do that is by understanding ourselves, understanding the world, having intentions and objectives, and staying true to that. And that's all. Yeah. That's it.
Thank you.
Yo.
I know you've got another class right after this, but I just want to say, so many things that you said were things that I needed to hear literally right now. One of the things that stuck out to me, gasping at the leaf, like interacting with the world in a different way, that is super helpful to me. That's super helpful to me. But then also, I've always been looking for the spiritual explanation of the possession of like taking on a character, the acting, and I've never heard it from anywhere. And so you've lived through it, and you just delivered to me what I've literally sought. It's because it's like, I know it's the spiritual thing. It's not just this, oh, I'm an actor. You're literally working with spirits. That story about Richard Barthe, is that his name? That was awesome. And you treated him with respect. It wasn't just, hey, I'm going to fucking put you on and I'm going to be a big star. You like worked with him as a team, and he was able to, because you created that symbiotic relationship, he was able to possess you in the positive way perfectly at the exact moment you needed it. That is what I needed to hear. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Of course, Kiyoshi. And thank you for look. Well, I got it right here. NLP. Thank you for this collaboration, man, and take care. Yeah. And I'm gonna hit you up. Oh, let me stop the recording. Okay, let me stop the recording. All that.